Hey, what's up guys? It's C-Stacks here, and we're doing a little discussion video today. I figured it'd be fun to do some kind of shorter discussion videos over various versus related topics, so I am joined today again by Burt.
What's going on, YouTube, Anchor, everybody? How y'all doing?
Alright, so thanks for coming on. Today we're talking about the possibility of getting an Alien 2 set in Versus 2 PCG. Now, Burt, I didn't just ask you on because you're my go-to co-host or because I think you're a real swell guy, but rather because I know you're a big fan of the Alien franchise and the Alien set. Am I correct in that?
Oh man, so much so, yeah. I've seen every movie more than once. I love those movies to death.
Yeah, me too. I'm a big fan of the Alien franchise. So in 2016, I believe it was, we got the Alien Battles in Versus 2 PCG. To my knowledge, it is the first non-comic book related property to be added to Versus system, be it the old game or the new. And let me tell you what, I was so excited for this box when it was coming out. Those spoilers with the face huggers and all that, I was so hyped for this. And even though it hasn't really, especially the Alien side of it, hasn't necessarily stood up to power creep, it's still, I think, probably my favorite individual box in the Versus 2 PCG. What were your thoughts at the time coming into the Alien battle set?
When the first Aliens box came out, like I just remember like, oh man, xenomorphs, yeah, like fuck it, let's do it. Let's get some xenomorphs in here. I saw the swarm keyword and I was like, oh, like Ultron, so you can have a bunch of them out and like they're gonna synergize with each other. And it was a really, I remember that being my favorite box to open, I think, because, and like as time would have it, those cards didn't stand the test of time, but for what they were right then and there, like yeah, Kane was in the house, Call was in every combat deck I had. I just remember, yeah, that's probably my favorite box to open, besides Shield and Hydra, because all hail Kobik. But yeah, Aliens box is my favorite box to open, just because like the mains in just that box were so different, and like the artwork was different, the abilities felt different, and the Xenomorph team felt like an actual team. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely love the synergy of the Alien team, and it's definitely my favorite box, and I was really excited for it. Some of my favorite mains are still in there. Everybody knows I love Newborn. I love Dragon. I'm always saying I'm going to try Perfect Organism, and I never have. Yeah, some of my favorite cards are in that box. I really love the artwork in it. Nowadays we have the photographic universe sets. So like if Alien Battles were to come out now, I feel like it would probably be a photo set. But I'm really glad that they commissioned artwork for it, and I really love the look of all those cards. I think they look awesome.
They actually, if for nothing else, the artwork in that Aliens box was like, even the freaking box. The box itself had an overmorph on it, and it felt like a Aliens, like something that would be on a shelf in a fucking spaceship. Like no, we don't really get that from any other box. Mm-hmm. Like just the Aliens or the Ridley Scott experience, I feel was really captured in a smart way in that box.
I agree, yeah. And I think like the Alien and Predator sets, I think they jive really well with like the Versus system formula, in that they commissioned artwork for it, so it's illustrated, and I just think it's really cool to finally have gotten, especially at the time, it was really cool to get our first taste of a different kind of property in Versus, because that was always kind of the premise of the game, right? It's called a Versus system. It's about pitting different franchises against each other. And in the old game, we had that a little bit, obviously, with Marvel versus DC and Hellboy later on. But it was really cool to finally get a non-comic book themed property in Versus, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was great. It's funny you say like it's called Versus system, because more so Predator box than Aliens box, but what a better IP, or what a better group of characters than a bunch of rag and tag mercenaries that are like, oh, I gotta get out of here, shoot them, And then for the Aliens, They don't care who you are. You're in my house. This is my hive. That's my homie, the queen, right there. You better get out of here before you get snatched up. And there's gonna be like 30 of us against one of you. It made sense to have them in the game. And then predators, come on, they're killing fools. They're snatching your skull. They're hanging you up on the wall. It makes a lot of sense. I wish upon a star that the Xenomorphs, because nope, you didn't buy that box for Ripley, right? You bought it for the aliens. You bought it for the eggs. You bought it for the face huggers. You bought it for the queen. I wish that they had lasted the test of time. And I guess we could talk about that later or not, as to why they're not really seeing play or anything like that. But
yeah, let's talk about that now, because that kind of moves
Okay.
into the next part of this discussion. So we've mentioned a few times how like those cards didn't really stand the test of time, power
Yeah.
creep wise. And like there are definitely solid cards in that box. I mean, obviously stuff like Kane and Call still see play today.
Still see
But
play
even
today,
at the
yep.
time, like Dragon is a strong aggro main character. He's like aggro and control in one, kind of, because he's got that aggressive first ability, and then that he's able to heal off those wounds and make the game go longer. That's a really solid main character. Queen is kind of an interesting control deck with using the Ovomorphs over and over again. Obviously, Warrant Officer Ripley is a solid control deck. There's some cool aggro stuff you can do with Sister Ripley. There's solid cards in there that just kind of have gotten pushed out over the 2 or 3 years since that box has come out. And I think part of that has to do with, like, we've seen more and more and more Marvel support over the years. Like, Defenders is like, that was the second box to ever come out, and we have so many Defenders cards now. And it's been almost 3 years now, and we haven't seen any more Alien support. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think, and getting to the crux of what this conversation is about, is I think that box could really use a revamp. We could really use even just one of those small 55 cart cigarette boxes full of Alien and company support, and I really hope we get that. What are your thoughts on power creep and how it affected the Alien team and the chances of seeing another box?
Okay, so I'm going to take you on a little journey. The year is 2016. We are still undergoing endgame of sorts. Thanos was not answered until after that Gen Con. No, much after that Gen Con. So right off the bat, because this was only the third set into the game, or the fourth set, because I always skip A-Force for some reason, but the cards that, particularly the main character, I never actually care about the twists and characters because they're going to find a home regardless or not, but the main characters in specific, before you even read the mains, they had to do so much just to see play. They had to be able to lose their hand in 4 turns. They had to be able to not take wounds. They had to do this, do that, So that was a problem. Another problem was, like, the rest of the box itself. A lot of the cards in there only care about what's in that box. And so it limited where those cards could go. You couldn't play the queen without the eggs, right? And that means you had to play like some form of Swarm Matters deck. The dragon was he was the only aggro main I played until the legacy drop. That probably didn't help the aliens either. But yeah, the dragon was really interesting. The queen was really good up front. We had Valkyries, so you could keep, again, reusing your eggs. But there was just so much pressure on cards that came out during that time, because if you couldn't deal with Thanos snapping his fingers and using Infinity Gauntlet more than once a game towards the end, you couldn't ever get off the ground. And as it would turn out, the aliens couldn't deal with that. They couldn't deal with 2 gauntlets and getting 2 free wounds and losing your hand twice. Most mains couldn't deal with that, actually. So yeah, those were the problems. And then there's just the problem of, like, how does the Fox contract actually work? Like, can we even go back to IPs from Fox that we've used, or is it one and done? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. You actually made a really, really good point there about Thanos and about how these cards have been power creeped out now, yes, but also at the time they really didn't even get their due, because
That's right.
that
Yeah.
box came out right at Gen Con, at the peak of Thanos's reign, his reign of terror on the game.
Absolutely.
And, like, is Perfect Organism an amazing main character? No, but he's probably playable, but just in a field of Thanos, you can't play most of those main characters.
You couldn't.
They can't hang.
It just wasn't going to happen, yeah.
Yeah, so at the time it came out, when they were probably at the peak of their playability, you couldn't, because you just can't hang with Thanos. And then now, fast forward 3 years later, they're just past their prime.
Yeah.
So it's really sad that I feel like in a world without Thanos, the alien main characters probably could have had a much better showing that year at Gen Con, but the timing was just really bad for them.
I actually know that we're right, because there were a couple people, if I remember reading right, there were a couple people that made top 8. There was a Sister Ripley and a Dragon that made top 8 that year. The rest was just Thanos. So, like, because you brought up the point that Aliens dropped that tournament weekend, and people didn't really know how do the Xenomorphs actually work? Can I get my guy back from the facehugger?
Yeah, the timing of it didn't help either, right?
Yeah. So, like, shock factor and surprise actually got a company main character and a Xenomorph into top 8 that year, but they never showed up again. And then there's power creep in general. Like, there's so much more that you could be getting out of your 5s, your 6s, and your 7s, and then we have 8s, obviously, right? They can't do what the game demands anymore, you know?
Yeah. So, transitioning into why this is relevant now. So, by the time you're hearing this, it's probably the 25th of September. And coming out, releasing today, is Legendary Encounters Alien Covenant. So, I don't play Legendary, but as a lot of you probably know, Legendary is another game that is designed by Super Awesome Games and released by Upper Deck. And a lot of times, it's a pretty good indicator of what we're going to get in Versus. If you see it in Legendary, that's a pretty good indicator that we might see that in Versus pretty soon. So they got an Alien set a couple years ago. Shortly after that, we got our Alien set. They got Legendary Encounters Predator. We got Predator. They got X-Files. We're now getting X-Files here in a number of months. So today, they are releasing Legendary Encounters Alien Covenant, which is another illustrated set for Legendary with aliens. So when I saw about this, it reignited my excitement it made me think, is there really a possibility that we could see another Alien set? What are your thoughts on this, Burt?
I actually, not to seem like an idiot or something, but I demand that there's another Aliens box. They deserve a second try. It's my favorite team in the whole game. And give me the Aliens, man.
Yeah, and I mean, and at the end of the day, it's a business, right? So, like, what probably it all comes down to is how well did that first Alien box sell? And I mean, this is anecdotal, but I think, from my experience, I think people really liked that box. I think it was, like we were saying, it was exciting to see a new property introduced into this game.
Absolutely, yep.
And clearly, I mean, Legendary isn't Versus, you know, it's a different beast. But clearly, in Legendary, people liked the Alien property enough that it merited coming back to it.
That it got a second copy, right? Yeah.
So I'm hoping that translates to Versus system, and we'll get either an Alien Box 2 or an Alien Covenant Battles kind of a set. And just transitioning to another part of this, I think there's plenty of room to expand on those teams. I mean, Alien Covenant, there's Alien Covenant and Prometheus. The movies you can expand on. We could get the Neomorph, which is the creepy white one that comes out of your spine. There's the Engineers, of course, an Engineer team would be awesome. And there's any number of decades worth of comic books to draw from.
There's literally, there's decades worth of stuff. And this is how I know, because the alien mythos is so vast. Did you know that there was a king class xenomorph? There's a king for the queen. There's we didn't get warrior class. So there's a group of Xenos that their sole job is they're like elite guard. Their sole purpose is defend the queen at all costs. No one gets through. She will be protected. And like the Red Queen,
Oh yeah.
oh man, there are so particularly Xenos, because again, I don't really care about the company, right? They're just a bunch of freaking scientists and farmers and stuff that are just doing their job and trying not to get eaten. But the Xenomorphs, and like I remember I was talking to somebody a while back, and I was like, I think it was one of my professors in college, and I said, you know what? I I remember thinking about at the end of the first movie, I'm like, or the first couple movies, I'm like, the queen is actually the good guy in that movie. If you think about it, they invaded her home and they started killing it and fighting her children, and like that just changed my mind about the whole thing. It was like, they're not the bad guys at all. They're trying to eat. They're trying to live. We're not supposed to be, you know. So
Yeah, sure.
honestly, I mean, it's kind of fucked up to think like that, but just don't be there. Don't go there. It's simple. Yeah, no. We need engineers, dude. Magneto robot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fassbender
We can
bot.
get
Come on.
like at least 2 Michael Fassbender main characters we can get up in here.
Oh
and
man, how cool would that be if the engineer, like, he dropped the freaking black goo and like
Mhm.
everybody turned into xenomorphs, and like he can take them or like have them do stuff to each other.
Yeah, there's a
Oh
really
man.
cool room for really innovative design, really flavorful design. Because I mean, over the years, especially even since we've seen um, the Alien Battle set, which had some really flavorful cards in it, it was a huge leap, I feel like, in terms of flavor. And we've seen that just become more and more the case. You know, the cards are just packed full of awesome design now, and I think there's lots of room for that in these Alien cards that they could do.
I think that if Alien box were to come out today, it would be the most incredible box. And I really hope that they do a round 2, a rematch for that, because that is still one of my favorite boxes to open. I actually wish I had one that was unopened just to open it now, but
I agree, because that was before when I was doing opening videos and stuff.
mhm.
So I mean, if I ever find one for like dirt cheap online, I'll pick up an Alien box and do an opening, just because.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, that would take me back. I
Yeah.
love that box, man.
Yeah, it 100% is my favorite box to open.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
All right, so I think that's going to do it for today's video. Let us know, you guys, what you think of the Alien set, and if you would be really excited to see an Alien set too, like me and Burt would. Anyways, so thanks for joining us. Leave a comment down below, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Peace.